And welcome to our third week, but our second one of the Sunday Monday showdown. Things are kicking off and looking good. We're going to recap here our Sunday nighter, which is the Eagles and 49ers, and the Monday nighter, which is Falcons, Packers. Potentially also a second Monday nighter with Tennessee and Pittsburgh getting rescheduled at some point due to some COVID testing. I don't know. I don't really know how that's all going to work out and how many teams are going to be testing positive throughout the year. So we could see a variety of weekday games as the year goes on. So we're just going to try to adjust as best as possible. I don't think we're going to cover Tennessee and Pittsburgh as we kind of touched on them with our lineups in the last video. So also there's a last video for the regular Sunday slate. If you want to go check it out, that would be great. But yeah, we want to make this one decently quick, so we'll go Eagles, 49ers. We're looking at a showdown here Sunday night. Should be a fun game. Taryn, what are you thinking?
Well, let's start with kind of looking at the game total. This game total is totaling 45 right now in Vegas. San Francisco's 7-point favorites, and it's an injury-riddled game as usual, and it seems like we get one of these on each of the games each weekend, kind of like we did last weekend with Packers Saints. But let's maybe take a look at San Fran first. The defense is probably a starting point in a lot of these lineups. I mean, the O-line is struggling. Lane Johnson's out. Wentz took three sacks and two picks against the Bengals last week. So, I mean, they're always in play this week. And I'd say the other side defense is in play as well. Looking at Phillies, they put up 8 sacks last week. They're looking a little faster, a little better week over week. But when you start in the offenses, it gets a little harder because we got Nick Mullins starting. And his leading receiver last week was Brandon Ayuk with 8 touches, 5 receptions, and 3 rushes with a touchdown. It looks like George Kittle is back. So if George Kittle is back, he's practicing in full as of Wednesday. So I would say run Kittle in most of your lineups. He's probably one of my favorites for captain spot this week on the San Fran side. I mean, you either run Kittle or you run Ayuk. And if you're doing that, you're running Mullins as well. But if you want to resort to the running game in San Fran, that's a good option here. I actually prefer Wilson Jr. over McKinnon just because Wilson Jr. is the grind guy and McKinnon's going to come in if they're down or they're kind of losing. So I think that's your best bet is to go Wilson Jr. if you expect them to win by a lot, and that's what Vegas is projecting. But on the Phillies side, you're probably looking – Wentz hasn't looked great. He looks slow. Miles Sanders, you would have expected to have a better game last week. He missed Miles Sanders on a wheel route up the sideline that should have been a touchdown, probably a 50 or 40-yard touchdown. Wentz just missed the throw. It was an easy walk-in touchdown. But I like going back to Miles Sanders. I mean, you can go back just to the running game in this game as well. And then if you're looking at receivers on that side, Ertz, see with Goddard now out on IR, Ertz saw 10 targets again, so he's not losing all those tight end touches to Goddard. And then Ward seems to be the favorite. Alshon Jeffrey is practicing again, so there's a chance he's back. I don't see it. But, 11 targets for Greg Ward last week. He seems to be the favorite with Deshaun Jackson going down. Outside of that, I mean, dive into your cheap options if you want. Dwelly appeared to be the tight end that got a lot of the touches if Kittle doesn't play, although I think Kittle will play. And then Kendrick Bourne has averaged about 5 targets a game. Outside of that, this game's kind of a little bit sloppy. Maybe lean defenses and kind of run with it. But what do you think, Justin, from a game standpoint?
Yeah, I think this is the make or break week for the Eagles. It doesn't get much worse than tying the Bengals. That's got to do. Well, I know the fans in Philadelphia are having a field day with that one, so we'll see if they. I don't think they win this one unless Carson Wentz brings back his rookie season magic and starts digging them out of the grave here. But at the same time, yeah, like you're saying, there's lots of new people to pick from, a lot of names that are probably new to most people's lineups. I do like Jeff Wilson as the running game from the Niners. I'm going to take your advice and probably say Kittle's probably going to be a great option. One thing I had a question, though, is will Kittle be a good choice with Mullins is still QB with Garoppolo down?
Last year we did see Mullins and Kittle still maintain a pretty good relationship when he went down. He was still throwing to Kittle quite a bit, and I mean, when you look at the top option there, you're going to see Kittle be the best pass catcher in that offense, right? So I can't see it going down. He may be used more to block if they lean on the run game and get up early. So if that's the game script you're expecting, it might be a good way to get away from Kittle in your lineups. But if you're expecting this to stay close and be a little more pass heavy, then Kittle's going to be the guy that's going to be your probably top, if not second best receiver out there to Ayuk. I mean, he's better than Ayuk, but Ayuk's going to run more as a receiver. So I do think there's options to fade him as well, but it has to be a run game.
Yeah, like I was all in on Goddard before he went down on any of the Eagles picks. Did well for me the first week there. But yeah, like I think if you're taking people on the Eagles, well, you almost have to take at least one or two. I'm going Ertz, and I'm thinking Alshon Jeffrey. I'm not too confident in the run game. I'm not confident with the passing game either, but I think Carson Wentz is going to make a few shots because he has to. They have to get a win this week, in my opinion. But other than that, we could move on to the Monday Nighter unless you have anything else to add, which is the Falcons-Packers. Another exciting one. I think this one's going to be a shootout as well. We've been getting lucky on the Sunday and Monday night games, and they've been pretty exciting.
Yeah, this looks like a blow-up spot. Vegas had the total earlier today at 58 for the game, which is like one of the highest totals you'll see in a game on an average week. And this season, we're seeing more in the 50s than ever. And it seems like offense, kind of like in hockey lately, has been the new norm, is a lot of points and no defense across the board in football. So through the first 3 weeks, we've been seeing more points than ever. But a game total of 58, you expect offense, you expect very little defense. One thing is Green Bay is a 7.5 point favorite, which is a lot of points to give Green Bay. But as I doubted them last week in the passing game, Aaron Rodgers looks like he's going to be performing this season. He is looking like he's having fun. He looks like he has no fear out there. He's running around making those passes like that deep corner to Lazard last week. And I think this thing's going to be high firing. So, I mean, run them all, probably play both quarterbacks. I mean, you're going to have so many options in this, but pricing's going to restrict you. I mean, Rodgers looks great. Lazard is the clear number one if Adams doesn't play, and it does look early like Adams isn't going to play yet. I think it'll be one more week for this one. Aaron Jones had a quote-unquote disappointing week last week, 16 points only on DK, but he's still touching the ball 22 or 20 or so times a week. I expect him to still be involved, and against this defense that really can't stop anything in Atlanta, you could play anybody. Robert Tonyan was a big break from last week. He 5 for 50 and a touchdown. He appears to be the number one tight end in the catching game, although Mercedes Lewis did get a touchdown as well. So if you want to take a long shot, there's an option. He likes the tight ends in the red zone. And other than that, I mean, you're looking at all systems go. I'm thinking like doing heavy offense stacks in this showdown slate, maybe avoiding all defenses. And then if you go to the Atlanta side, Ryan kind of disappointed last week. He didn't throw a lot, and in that Chicago game, they got up early and then, of course, choked it all back again for the, third week in a row. They were up by 20 points or so, and they threw it in the fourth quarter. But one thing to note is that last week they got both running backs involved, so Brian Hill appears to be more involved in the running game, and Gurley as well. They both had 15 DK points last week. Both got a TD, so they're rushing a little more on the goal line. And if you're going to lean on a receiver here, I think Julio will be back. But Ridley, I got to stop fading him. I keep avoiding him on the Sunday slates, and it's just been a mistake over and over. He looks like the best receiver there. He's getting 13, 10, and 11 targets. He's been over 100 in all 3 games. He's at 4 touchdowns. I mean, the guy is like a captain lock if you want him to be. And Hayden Hurst is a good option there. If Julio doesn't play, you got the options of Gage, and then it looked like Zacharias. He has a very long name, but Zacharias as a punt play could be a good option. He got 4 targets and some 50 or so yards last week. And Hayden Hurst seems to be catching a touchdown a game as well. But, I mean, find your lineup where you like it, pick a captain, and probably just attack all options in this game. And, I mean, there's very very little to like, but do you think this has a chance to go under that total, or are you leaning all towards over?
I mean, judging off of the history of this season so far, this is going to be over 70 points in this game, in my opinion. But it's weird. Like Jones, everyone, you're saying bad, quote unquote, bad fantasy game because only 16 points. But then we see Alvin Kamara in that game get 50 or 60 fantasy points if he was your captain. It was absurd. So I think we could see the opposite again. Especially if this game kind of breaks open. Jones could be just a monstrous. One of the things I really like in this game, though, is Robert Tonyan. I had him last week, and that was a pleasant surprise. And I think he'll be very affordable. You're probably looking at like $5,000 to $6,000, so you probably be able to slot him in most of your lineups. Same with on the other side. Hayden Hurst will be a little bit more expensive, probably about $1,000 more, unless they adjust it this week. But I'm thinking that the price difference, it makes sense to have Tanya in a lot of your lineups, especially with Rodgers throwing to the tight ends in the red zone there. And then I'm hoping Todd Gurley kind of has a big week this week. I had him a couple times, and it's been mildly disappointing, and I've not taken him since. But I have a hunch that maybe he'll get me a solid 25-30 fantasy points. Just need a couple rushing touchdowns. So, switch it up, and maybe that's the way it'll go.
Yeah. It is a good option to kind of go to the running game in Atlanta because everybody's going to be loading the passing game, and Matt Ryan, if Julio's in the game, Ridley, those guys are all going to be priced where you can probably barely put three other guys in your lineup. I would imagine you're going to see, and Devontae Adams plays, like you're going to have, nobody's going to be able to use all those guys. So you got to find a way to be different in this game with such a high scoring. And whether that's jiving to a cheap captain or whether that's maybe doing a running back kind of lineup or playing a running back with your quarterback maybe to sneak that in. But yeah.
What's your thoughts on potentially a kicker being a good option? Because you're probably going to get 4 or 5 points just off of extra points, ideally. If you can get a couple kicks in there, that might be your cheap option to really stand out.
I like the kickers. I would lean the kicker from Atlanta because I have more confidence that Green Bay will be able to stop them from going down the field than I have confidence that Atlanta will be able to stop Rodgers in the red zone. So I think you'll see more chance at in that. I think they have a backup kicker because I think Koo is now on injured reserves is his name. But I would lean to the Atlanta kicker because I think Green Bay will run down the field, although Crosby's a much better kicker. But yeah.
Awesome. Well, we look forward to some Sunday, Monday action here. I know our last one, we were pretty spot on with a lot of the options that we threw out there, and a lot of our lineups looked pretty good. But yeah, if you're still watching the video at this point and you're not subscribed, we didn't say it at the start. We're saying it at the end. Hit a subscribe button. It's easy. It's simple. At least throw us a comment of who you're going to pick, who you think I threw out there that sucks because I don't know much, who you think is great because Taryn does know much, and maybe even throw a like. That'd be great. And stay tuned for the next one.